Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Welcome in as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Thanks again for our affiliates carrying us around the state. WNFL in the Green Bay Appleton area, 99.7 FM. In Wausau on 93.9 The Game. In Duluth Superior, 710 The Game. And in Milwaukee on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM. The Fan, thanks for tuning in. Busy hour this hour. We're going to have Tyler Dunne from GoLongTD.com coming up at 3:40. Talk about the Packers at the trade deadline. Talk about the Packers-Carolina game. Look at the NFC now after the NFL trade deadline is done. But before we get to him at 3:40, can lead off this hour with a Bucks legend, a favor of mine, joining us on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. He is Bucks legend, John McGlocklin. John, thanks for coming on, man. How are you?
Sparky, how you doing, man? I listen to you. I hear you. I think you're outstanding. I think you do a great job. How's your family, man?
Family's good, man. Yeah, got one in the trades, got one in college at UW La Crosse as a freshman, then the 9-year-old, the 3-year-old. So yeah, man, it's busy.
Man, you know how to spread them out, don't you?
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes. It's what it does.
Yeah, it does.
Keeps you on your toes. John, I guess I want to get your thoughts first on the Milwaukee Bucks, and not necessarily specifically to the Pacers game last night, one way or the other, but coming into the season, there was a lot of talk of, okay, if Giannis isn't going to have that true number 2 guy like he had with Chris Middleton for years, and then he had with Damian Lillard for a couple of years, that guy's not really going to be there, then there's going to be more on him to do even more and could lead to an MVP-type season again. And early on, it looks like he's on his way to another MVP if this Bucks team could continue to win games.
You know, Spark, first of all, we all know how fortunate we are, and we owe John Hammond and John Horst, who was part of that team, to go find Giannis. And I recall doing the first time I saw him in a warm up at a Bucks game, and then you see the Giannis of today, because then he was built like a pencil, but he was 18 years old, and so how fortunate we have been. I mean, we've been able to see great players over the years, but certainly 3 great ones in Kareem, Oscar, and Giannis. What a blessing for this franchise. And, there are many franchises in the league, the one that came in when we did, the Phoenix Suns, that have never won a championship. And so we've been very lucky. So I'll move on from that. I was something recently with John Horst and heard some things he had to say. It was a great presentation. He really has a command for all the details of what goes on today in being a general manager of a team, and the depth you need in terms of understanding the cap and all the experts you need help with. But overall, my take would be early on that he has built, once again, very good players around Giannis, I think. I think this team is certainly talent-wise deeper than last year. I think they wanted to increase even more the three-point shooters, increase the ability of the defense to be consistent every night, and to give Giannis actually more help rather than less. That was the plan going in. I still think that will happen in compared to the last few years. So I'm quite optimistic about this team.
John, initially when Giannis was given the reins of the offense and they tried point forward with Jason Kidd as the head coach, because the memory serves right, there was injuries or whatever. So he said, okay, Giannis, let's see what you can do. And they tried that experiment with Jason Kidd. And then it kind of went away for a while with Bud. And then every opportunity Giannis would kind of have to do that, it felt like there was a lot of pounding the basketball and then just downhill and run through whoever's there, charge call or not. And it wasn't as smooth maybe as what everybody wanted. And now we're on try number 2 legitimately with Doc Rivers. He's mature. I think he's doing a much better job of it now than he did the first time around. What are your thoughts on point forward Giannis with this offense?
Well, you know, as good as he is, Sparky, in terms of what he can do, to take the ball out of his hands more is crazy. I mean, here's a man that can score, that can penetrate, that with his size and explosiveness, how he gets to the basket is stunning. And to say, well, okay, put Giannis on a wing or let someone else handle more, which is a little bit what they tried to do with Dame, because, you know, Dame being a great offensive player, defense, that's another story. And you know, Dame didn't have his stuff together. You know, he had a personal life that he had to deal with, and I would hope everybody understands that. But you want Giannis to have the ball, but what you also want is, you know, as much help as you can get on the side. And I've heard a lot of talk about, you know, well, who's the number 2 guy like Chris was? Well, maybe you do it by committee. They've got a number of players on this team that can score, that can make shots, not just threes, that can make twos also. So that's where I'm optimistic. It might be done by committee, where each night it could be a different set or a different player that can step up to fill that 2 or 3 spot. You want certainly more than 2, but perhaps 2 and 3.
You know, I love you, but I disagree. I get very concerned about the lack of 2. And last night, in the last minute of that game, was a prime example where Rounds gets the ball batted around when he goes to inbounds the ball. Giannis shoots a 3, and I'm not a big fan of Giannis shooting threes in general, but certainly not in the last minute of a game that's tight at that moment in time. And it didn't look like it probably should have. If you have that guy that can create his own shot and is that premier type scorer to play off of Giannis in those closing moments of games, you feel a lot better, I think. And secondly, just off the top of my head, I don't think I can come up with an NBA champion team that had that one guy and then there wasn't a true second guy the whole season that was that other scorer where that kind of rotated around the team.
Well, I don't disagree with you at all on that. But since we, at this point in the season, don't have an obvious number 2 in that regard, I do think what John has done, he's brought in enough guys that perhaps it can be done by committee. I'm hopeful it can. If it's not, then it's going to be more of a struggle, no question about it. And I think that's all part of evolving as a team, you know, with new players coming in, with obviously more, I think it's more depth and a little bit more youth, especially, you know, at the center position. And that's not a criticism of anybody in the past. It's just observing where they've moved into it. But, you know, you got to go with what you got too. And I'm hoping that it will work the way I described, but you're right. History would tell you, well, everybody had it too. And perhaps that will be the Achilles heel. I'm hopeful that it won't. And I don't think it will be, but gotta wait and see.
Talking with Bucks legend John McGlocklin. Of course, the Mac Fund is all about John McGlocklin. We'll get into the Mac Fund here before we're done. I want to get your thoughts, too, when we start talking about this Milwaukee Bucks team kind of going forward and looking at it from that center position. You had Brook Lopez for so long, and now you go to a young, more athletic Miles Turner. And I want to talk about the reception he got last night. But before we do that, your thoughts on what you've seen from Miles Turner, not only from his time in Indiana, but now it's his time in Milwaukee. Has been here for a few games.
Well, I've met him, and in person, there's something we were at together, and I watched him, not just when he met me, but other people. He's impressive. He's well grounded and rounded in terms of his ability to communicate. He's a likable guy. I think he's a great teammate. Now, take nothing away from Brook. We all love Brook, and Brook did a great job and had a wonderful personality as well. But, you know, you got to build on youth. And Miles, as we all know, we saw him in Indiana, what he's capable of. Is he capable of moving into that number 2 spot in a role where they get him shots? Possibly. I like him. I like the person, because the person and the basketball player in his case, are one, and a great teammate that has an intellect for the game. And I think his capability is going to be, not only valuable now, but very valuable to us. And I'll jump into this. As you know, I grew up 20 miles from where they played last night in Indianapolis. So I've got Hoosier blood in me, but I've been here for so long. My entire family are cheeseheads. All our kids and grandkids were born here. But I feel badly about the reception. I don't think the booing was necessary, but I understand fans. They feel that he left them when that's debatable as to what went down on that, and perhaps they didn't sign him right. But that's the NBA today. There's free agency. Guys can move, and that's great for the players, but it's bad for the fans, and in many cases the franchise. And that's what we're going to have in today's world. As you know, fans, people in general, are much more critical of each other and of situations. And that's not a better move for America, but it's where we are.
John, you caught a lot of NBA games. You played in a lot of NBA games as well. Is there one player that you can remember from a Milwaukee Bucks fan base standpoint that seemingly whenever that guy came back, heard the round of boos and people just really gave that player a hassle?
That's a good question, Spark, because as you know, I played here 8 of my 11 years, and most people don't realize this, but I announced for 43 years, which is kind of amazing, but I loved it, and it worked out with my businesses. But it's interesting what I can remember and what I don't remember. It's remarkable, some of the things I do remember, and my kids are on me about doing a book about all the stories they've heard their entire lives.
Yes, you should. That's a great idea, John. Yes, you should. Well,
thank you, Sparky. I don't want to. I don't think anybody would be interested in buying it other than old time.
But John, you don't have. But John, you don't have to physically write it. You just sit down and talk, and somebody else does all that stuff for you.
Well, I've already done that, but the stories that come up are remarkable and fun. And someday, when you have a couple hours on the air, we can go through some of those stories.
Yeah, amazing.
It's fun stuff, Sparkus. But I really don't recall the fan base. Certainly when I played, it would have to be after I played, when a player came back, because when I played, a player couldn't elect to go to somewhere. He was traded.
Right.
So there was no animosity toward that player when he was traded and came back. So it would be in my announcing years, and I really don't remember the fans in general really going after somebody like they do today and like they did in Indiana. I don't have a memory on that.
This is the thing for me from a fan perspective, because a lot of people, and I'm guessing you're friends with Craig Counsell, who I refer to as the Trader. He gets booed out of the stadium left and right every time he comes back. And again, that's from a fan perspective. Brett Favre would be the guy who it took a decade for Packer fans to get over him. So we definitely have been down this path before as sports fans, booing people that were here for a long time. And then the fan base turns on them. And Giannis last night was, doing the whole booing back to the Pacers and so forth. But on that same team, that Pacers team, you have a Wisconsin product and Tyrese Halliburton, who is playing the villain role perfectly. I mean, the Brewers are facing the Dodgers in the playoffs. That dude shows up in Indiana at a home game wearing a Dodgers jersey. I mean, completely playing the villain to the top. And that's the thing. Like, if Miles Turner wants to, he can just flip this thing around. You want to boo me? Cool. Then I'll be completely anti-Indiana going forward.
Well, as an old-time player where I can name guys, I remember Dave Cowens knocking a couple of guys out because in that era, you could just get in a fight, knock somebody out, and you'd pay a $25 fine, keep playing. And yet it didn't get out of control. You didn't start sucker punching. You didn't go up in the stands.
Right.
That was later with Detroit and that disgusting team. But in today's world, I think free agency has done this, and I think the change in America has done this just with politics and everything, the way people go after each other. The Halliburton thing, I don't have respect for players that react the way he does and what his dad did and that whole thing.
Yep.
I have a real problem with that, and continuing to try to stay in somebody's face. Again, in my era, you didn't do that. I remember the first guy that came in that had a mouth on him was Walt Hazard, who later became, I don't remember what he changed his name to. He played at UCLA. He came in the NBA in '64. And I remember seeing a game where Tommy Heinsohn knocked him out in '64 because he was bad-mouthing. He was the first guy I saw or heard would mouth off during a game. You didn't get a lot of it in that era, and there was a policing that took place, whereas today it's more open in terms of to the fans, to the players, to everybody, to do the disgusting things Halliburton's done, to do the disgusting things other players do. I don't respect that stuff. I just respect, playing the game, playing hard, going at somebody, and doing your job. But that isn't the world today. So this whole thing that is built up between the Pacers and the Bucks, that's going to continue now for some time, every time they play.
It's John McGlocklin, Bucks legend, joining us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Steve, Sparky, Fifer with you on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I want to get what's going on with the MAC Fund and what you've been up to.
Hey, Spark, you're always the best at getting to the MAC Fund, and it's kind of you. And as always, we have somewhere between 80 and 90 events that occur over a 12-month span. People of southeastern Wisconsin have been phenomenal. And let me lay this on you, Sparky. A year from this coming December, so 14 months from now, will be the 50th anniversary of the MAC Fund. And we're going to have a big event at the Pfister on the day that the MAC Fund was announced at my retirement night, which was December 10th,
Nice.
76. So the event's going to be on December 10th, a year from this December. And we're going to have a huge fundraiser and try to raise millions of dollars. The MAC Fund's gone strong. The people have supported it. We've now given near $90 million. So by that event in December, it would be at $100 million that we've given. Isn't that amazing?
Why don't, hey man, we're on CY Network now. Why don't we do some MAC Fund events around the state? Why limit yourself to southeastern Wisconsin, John? Let's go.
Well, the problem with that is, Spark, we've tried that in the past. We've been in Minneapolis, we've been in outstate, and it's very difficult to have events if you don't have someone in that area that will champion for the year that particular event.
Right.
And we found that in Minneapolis it didn't work. And we've had events in Madison. The Trek 100 goes all over the place, and John Burke and Trek is he lives in Madison, but it's too hard to do, Sparky. You need you need almost satellite offices and people there, which we just haven't been able to do. I've had calls over the years from people in other states this goes back a few years too, but they would say, well, John, how do we have a MAC Fund in Detroit or in Indianapolis or in Atlanta? And I tell them they probably can't because we tried it. And if you don't have someone there with a staff and a high visibility person, as I've been all these years in the forum with the Milwaukee Bucks that Eddie and I had to talk about the MAC Fund and Jim and I don't think you can pull it off. So it's a great thought, but it hasn't worked.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. All right. Don't tear up. Don't cry on me on the radio, please. What's the succession plan after John McGlocklin?
Hey
man, I'm just asking a question, John. I'm curious. There's got to be a succession plan. Like, who's the succession plan?
Well, there is. And Sparky, I'm 82 years old now, and the Lord has blessed me. And
you got another 20 years in you, John.
Hey, I hope so, brother. I hope the Lord keeps me here and I can keep doing MAC Fund events. We have a great staff. So here's the deal. You're not going to go out and get, someone that, will commit to it like I did or have the visibility that God's blessed me with through the NBA and the Milwaukee Bucks. But so we're not going to try to replace that. But what we need to do is have a great staff and a great board of directors, and then cultivate as much as we can around it. Because what's happened today, Spark, with athletes in all sports, they make a lot of money. Many of them have their own foundations. They have their own interest. And so for someone to step up of high notoriety, like a Giannis, and commit to the MAC Fund the way that I have, we don't expect that. And it's probably not fair to them. But if we build everything around that, which we have done already, I think the MAC Fund will continue on after me. I believe that. And I know it's a God-blessed organization, and that will continue.
That's a great thing. I love hearing that. I love me some Johnny McGlocklin. As we all know, Toy Drive, first week of December, Johnny Mac. I'll be calling December 1st to the 5th, Blaine's Farm and Fleet in Oak Creek for Children's Wisconsin. You will be hearing from me because you got to come hang out.
I expect it, and I appreciate it, and I'll be on with you whenever you ask.
That's a beautiful thing. John McGlocklin, I appreciate you so much, buddy, and we'll continue to watch this Bucs team win a bunch of games between now and then, and I'll talk to you at Toy Drive.
God bless you and your family, Spark.
You bet. You take care, John. There he is, John McGlocklin, Bucs legend, on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That is all. I love me some Johnny Mac. Coming up next, we're going to tell you what happened at the NFL trade deadline. That was about 20 minutes ago. Some trades sneaking in at the end, where the Packers one of them. We'll get into that straight ahead. Plus, Tyler Dunne, GoLongTD.com, joins us coming up at 3:40. Hey, the Bucs won last night against the Pacers, which means you get to win today at Wendy's. After every Bucs win, stop by any participating Wisconsin Wendy's for a free small vanilla or chocolate frosty classic. No purchase necessary. This offer is only good for 24 hours after a win, so act fast and get that free small frosty classic at Wendy's today. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. See Sparky Fifer here. Charlie using other side of the glass. Thanks again to John McGlocklin, Bucks legend, for joining us. Don't forget, coming up 5 o'clock, about 90 minutes out, Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up with Tommy Wirtz from 5 until 6. He'll play back some of the best segments from throughout the day, plus do his own topics, give you his spin on different things from today's stories, including the NFL trade deadline, one would think. Before the John McGlocklin interview happened, we were in the commercial break. And Charlie Usen, my lovely, lovely producer, who this show wouldn't be nearly as good without him.
Thanks.
He and I were talking about a trade that happened right before he was going to call John McGlocklin. And I was like, hey, look at that. Because we were talking about the Chargers and how they lost Joel Alt for the season, offensive tackle and so forth. And here comes a thing right across at 3 o'clock. Saints trade offensive lineman Trevor Penning to the Chargers for a 2027 sixth round pick. And I was like, man, look at that. Joe Alt goes out. They go, no problem. Boop, and they plug in another offensive lineman, to which Charlie is wearing a red sweatshirt that you can see if you're streaming live on X or
Wisconsin
on
Badgers,
YouTube.
Best team in college football. Yeah.
Funny. But you can see his Badger sweatshirt. He's wearing red, and dude, he got so mad when I said Trevor Penning. I was like, come on, nobody gets that mad over Trevor Penning. Okay, so tell everybody your thoughts on Trevor Penning, and then we'll get to the Packers.
All right. First, sweet and simple, Trevor Penning's awful. I hate Trevor Penning. He's like one of my least favorite.
What do you mean it wasn't that bad? You said he's awful and you hate him. That's pretty bad. I'm not sure how much farther you could go.
By far one of my least favorite players in the NFL when he got drafted. So a little backstory, my college roommate, one of my best friends, is a New Orleans Saints fan. So he is always talking about the Saints. He's always hyping them up way more than they should. In the draft process, he had this crazy tendency, Trevor Penning, that is, to just throw people for no reason, like with egregious holds during the draft process. He was playing low tier competition during the season. He had no technique whatsoever. And I was saying it the entire time. And the entire time, my roommate's like, no, I want the Saints to draft him. I want the Saints to draft him so bad. We need a replacement for Ryan Ramczyk, Wisconsin Badgers legend. Like, he's going to retire soon. We need somebody to fill in there. He's like, Trevor Penning's the guy. He's so nasty, man. I love it.
That's what they said about him, was nasty coming out. That was the key word with him coming out.
It's just not that. He's awful. He doesn't know how to play football. The Saints figured that out eventually here. I mean, it is just a crazy situation. He's a bully. He's not even like a good guy from most reports. He's just a jerk from what people have said. You are
just going all in on this poor guy.
Like, this is I dislike him very much. I think he's going to go to the Chargers and play for Jim Harbaugh for about 3 weeks, and then he's going to say, I don't want to play here anymore. Jim Harbaugh's going to say, I don't like you anymore. It's all going to break down. This is awful. 6th round pick is too much for Trevor Penning. Get him out of here.
Wow. All right, then.
I'm done.
Yeah. I'm glad you're done. I'm very, very glad you're done. It does not appear the Green Bay Packers have done anything at the NFL trade deadline, even though there were all these rumors and innuendo and talks, and who knows if anything got really close one way or the other at the end of the day. So the NFL trade deadline is done. Now listen to the names here that have been traded since we got going here with trades. Not necessarily today, just in general. Joe Flacco traded to the Bengals. Gilman traded to the Ravens. Odafe Owa, is that how you say his name? I think so, right? Yep. The Chargers, to the Chargers. Tyson Campbell to the Browns. Greg Newsome to the Jaguars. Roger McCurry, a guy that, like, ESPN and those, the cornerback from the Titans, thought the Packers might get. He gets traded to the Rams a couple days ago. Kyle Duggar goes to Pittsburgh. Keon White to San Francisco. And you would assume the Keon White thing, they like his body type and size, and that's why they wanted him, because he looks like a pass rusher. John Mechie III to the Jets. He's never worked out for the Texans. Michael Carter II to the Eagles. Jair to the Eagles. He was healthy scratches for the Baltimore Ravens, so we'll see if he actually plays against the Packers on Monday night. Logan Wilson, the linebacker, to the Cowboys. Draymond Jones to Baltimore. Joe Tryon Shoinka, is that how he says his name?
Yeah.
Were you excited about that for the Bears picking him up?
Not at all. He's played 31 snaps so far this season,
Defensive
but he's
lineman.
been healthy. His high career is 5.5 sacks with Tampa Bay. Doesn't do anything for me, man.
Okay. Jalen Phillips, pass rusher to the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles add 3 dudes here before the Packers are going to face him on Monday night. How many of those guys?
I love Jalen Phillips. As much as I hate Trevor Penning, I love Jalen Phillips like the opposite.
Yeah. As a Packer fan, I wasn't very excited to see that. Jacoby Myers to Jacksonville. He's been rumored to be traded since week 1, so not surprised he got moved. I'm surprised the Jaguars are continuing to press forward with what they currently have. But either way, so Jacoby Myers goes there. Rashid Shaheed, man, I'm telling y'all, Charlie Usen was loving him some Shaheed last year. Boy, he was all over Shaheed at the beginning of last year with the Saints, man. And now he goes to the Seahawks. I think it's a great deal for the Seattle Seahawks. I know he's a free agent at the end of the year, I believe, but it's a great trade for Seattle.
Jackson Smith-Njigba is currently the best wide receiver in the NFL. Kind of reminds you a lot of maybe a Justin Jefferson style player. You add in a Rashid Shaheed, who has a lot of the same play style as a Jordan Addison into that offense there. Sam Darnold should be feeling pretty comfortable because he had that type of duo last season.
Yeah, I love that trade for Seattle. I do. I think it makes them better. Mozzie Smith goes to the Jets. Of course, he was a former first-round pick. Quinnen Williams goes to the Cowboys. That was a gigantic deal earlier. A monster defensive lineman that gets penetration in the backfield. That's Jets defense. Hasn't been that god-awful by any stretch of imagination. It was really good for the last couple of years, and they just blow that up because Quinnen Williams goes to the Cowboys. Sauce Gardner goes to the Colts. A.D. Mitchell goes back in that Colts deal, a former second-round wide receiver from the Colts last year. And then Trevor Penning goes to the Chargers. Through all of that, the Green Bay Packers do nothing. The Detroit Lions, it doesn't appear they did anything. The Minnesota Vikings, they didn't do anything. The Bears make a no-name trade for a guy there.
Depth move.
I mean, for the most part, the Packers are untouched. If I'm a Packer fan looking at this right now, which I am, the Eagles are the team that concerns me when this is all said and done.
But the Eagles also made 2 moves at least in that cornerback room where it felt like those are players that, yes, I guess to some degree could give you upside.
Jair could give you huge upside.
But he hasn't given upside to the team he's played already for the past 3 years. He hasn't really given upside, so that's really a gamble for them.
No risk, though.
So really, Jalen Phillips is only the only move that they made that is an upgrade, and he's coming off a torn ACL last season. I mean, these are things that, yes, you look at that. From the Packers' perspective, the top players that were traded, the Packers were never going to trade for a Quinnen Williams. They were never going to trade for a Sauce Gardner. And the bottom tier players, there was no reason for the Packers to go for those types of guys. So if nobody was available that the Packers really wanted, there was no reason to make a move.
Charlie Usen over there, Steve Sparky Fifer here. Coming up next, Tyler Dunne, golongtd.com. Will give us his thoughts on the NFL trade deadline and what went on there. And what about those Green Bay Packers after this loss to Carolina with Philadelphia now coming up on Monday night? Hey, Potawatomi Hotel and Casino is giving away over $300,000 in prizes. It's autumn action, baby. Yeah, you heard that right. Over $300,000 in prizes, courtesy of our friends over at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Autumn action runs November 1st through the 20th, and you can earn entries playing with your rewards card. Prize drawings happen on Thursdays between 5 and 8 p.m. If you win, you get to pick your prize right from the prize board. All leftover prizes go into a rollover jackpot drawing. For more info, go online at Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 years of age or older and a rewards member to play. Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Tied up next. Welcome in. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. See Sparky, Fifer with you. Charlie Hughes in here. We have the Nicolay Law Talk text line. We're going to get to our guy, Ty Dunne, from golongtd.com. Follow him on Twitter at Ty Dunne. Before we do that, real quick, I just want to read you something. Nicolay Law Talk text line.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
From the 307. Hey, Spark and Charky.
All right. Good start.
I want to post you guys up in a pickup game with game pout and hit the game ender and give you guys the Giannis thumbs down from the 307.
What does that mean? Why does he want to do that to us?
I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, number one. Number two, I'm 5'6", dude. Anybody can pose me up. I probably can find.
I think we can make a pretty good duo. You know,
can post me up.
I'm a big body in the paint. You could be the quick on the outside.
It would definitely be harder to post up Charlie. He's got some size.
I'm a Brook Lopez type.
What are you, 6'3"?
Yeah. So I'm more of a Brook Lopez type, 3-point shooter, but also in the paint. You know, play stiff defense.
You play tackle. You got some quick feet.
Yeah,
that would be a little bit harder. Joining us now on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law, he is Tyler Dunne of golongtd.com. Follow him on Twitter at Ty Dunne. Ty, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man. How you been, Sparky?
I've been good. You got a super busy life. We've been trying to get together. I'm glad we were able to finally get together, and we get together on NFL trade deadline day. I can't imagine you were too surprised that the Packers were quiet after the big Micah Parsons deal before the beginning of the year.
You know, part of me thought they might just keep swinging, to be honest. You know, I thought that maybe the Parsons trade was the sign of a new day, that maybe, you know, not full Les Snead FM picks to that extreme, but I don't know, maybe you part with a mid-round pick for somebody who can help you this year to go for it, because, I mean, look, you've got Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, they're being evaluated by Ed Policy, and I think in the case of the head coach, that seat, if it's not hot, it's certainly warm. So I thought that maybe they might deviate and do something, but at the end of the day, they made their big move. They traded the picks and gave Micah Parsons that big deal.
See, from my perspective, I don't think anybody thought they were going to win against Detroit and Washington. I don't think anybody saw that coming at the beginning of the year. I don't think anybody thought at the beginning of the year that this team would have been sitting in first place at this point, because I think everybody thought the Lions were going to win this division going forward. Outside that Cleveland game, going into the Panther game, they were averaging over 30 points a game on offense. Their defense was playing fairly well, and now they lose a game to Carolina, and now the national media and Packer fans both are losing their minds and acting like, oh my God, they're not that good. It's halfway through the season. At the end of the day, just like baseball and basketball, and I would assume hockey, I'm not an NHL guy, you want to be playing your best at the end of the year. And there is plenty of time before we get to that point where they can continue to win games and get in position to make that run.
Yeah, you know, gun to the head, I'd still be pretty optimistic. I'm with you. Like, you've got a 6'4", 220, whatever, wide receiver in Christian Watson, who's hungry as hell. He hasn't played in forever, and he can do some things that few receivers can. I mean, he's a weapon that is only going to get better. Tucker Kraft is down. That stinks. Yep. He was the best tight end in football. He would be he'd make Mike Ditka proud. I mean, he is everything you'd want out of a tight end in any era. But I think that Luke Musgrave can be really good as a receiver. He just hasn't been used. Right? He's kind of been on ice since they drafted him ahead of Tucker Kraft. And, you know, back at Oregon State, I remember talking to his tight ends coach out of college, and he's like, man, this guy, his arrow is only pointing up. He had an injury, and he had all this potential. They never really got to use him to the max there in college. So maybe he is kind of a hidden gem in this offense. And, of course, you've got Romeo Dobbs as a possession guy, Matthew Golden. You got to think that he's going to be featured more. They just haven't really thrown the ball. There's a lot of weapons all over the field. Jaden Reed will be coming back. I still think this is a Super Bowl contender. I still think Jordan Love's arrow is pointing up. I don't know if he's in the MVP conversation as we speak right now, but there's a lot to love about this offense. But that being said, Sparky, there are times you wonder, like, is Green Bay calling plays like their quarterback is making 10 or 15 million a year or 55 million a year? I mean, at some point, I think they got to really unleash him smartly, right? I mean, there were some mistakes in that Carolina game. I just feel like for them to get over the hump, they're going to need Jordan Love in full at some point.
I had Mike Wall on earlier this week. Well, actually, it was yesterday, right? It was today's Tuesday? Yeah. Yesterday, we had Mike Wall on, former Packer offensive lineman, and I told him I don't want him throwing the ball more than 35 times a game on any type of consistent basis. I want this to be run-based, play-action-based. Take your shots when you need to, but otherwise, take the open guy and let's move the ball down the field. And that really, if we're being honest, in general, I wouldn't want any quarterback throwing the ball more than 35 times in a football game on a somewhat consistent basis going forward. But, you hear Greg Olsen during the broadcast, and Olsen's like, man, let him open it up. Let him throw the football more. And I really had no issue with it whatsoever. Josh Jacobs was averaging over 5 yards on the ground in that football game.
Yeah, I don't think we're in disagreement either. I'm totally with you. I think at some point, basically you've got to crack the code on these defenses. They're taking away the deep ball.
Right.
They don't want Watson and Golden going over the top. So you do have to stay committed to the run. Like, you got to get him out of that. Like, you got to get Josh Jacobs going. It seems like he's been on this rep count and he's been banged up. I don't know, man. Like, just get him out there, feed him the ball. That's why you're paying him all that money. And I just feel like once they inevitably get that safety down in the box, then you see Love in full. It's a tricky balance. You see it here in Buffalo with Josh Allen. He's got the strongest arm in the NFL, one of the strongest arms in NFL history. Yet when they kind of went from Ken Dorsey as OC to Joe Brady, they really committed to the run with James Cook. They built up the offensive line. They let Stephon Diggs go. They don't really have much talent at wide receiver. Their wide receivers didn't do anything against the Chiefs, but they threw the tight end a lot. They threw the backs a lot. They gave James Cook 24, 25 carries. Yet Josh Allen was still able to do Josh Allen things. So there's a balance to strike. And that's a perfect example of how to strike it. But it just seems like Matt LaFleur, he doesn't really know what he wants this offense to be. There's no rhythm. There's no flow. And that's kind of a problem when you're in your 7th year as the head coach, and we're talking here in November.
So Tyler Dunne, golongtd.com. Great website. Highly suggest you go check it out. Follow him on Twitter at Ty Dunne. As we said earlier, NFL trade deadline was today at 3:00, so just about an hour ago. 2 gigantic moves. Quinnen Williams gets traded to the Cowboys to help replace Micah Parsons over there and help stop the run a little bit with Kenny Clark. And then the other one was Sauce Gardner gets traded from the Jets, where he's been having a down year, probably because he quit like everybody else on that team. And he gets traded to the Colts, who have had the surprising year, and everybody lost their minds. In fact, my 18-year-old called me and said, your Colts got screwed. And it's 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell for Sauce Gardner. And I saw a lot of Packer fans saying, man, that Micah Parsons deal looks even better now after you see what the Colts gave up for a cornerback.
I kind of have the opposite view. I feel like if you're the Colts, you're Chris Ballard. I think every other team in the AFC South has won the division twice since Ballard took over as GM. They haven't won it. They've gone through a million quarterbacks. They finally have a good thing going. Yeah, they lost to the Steelers. That strikes me as an anomaly. They're not going to turn the ball over like that every week. They've got a formula. Jonathan Taylor's the best back in football. Quentin Nelson's the future Hall of Famer. Daniel Jones, say what we want. He's been very efficient. Him and Shane Steichen are locked in. The defense is very, very good. They just need another playmaker, and those playmakers cost a lot of money, cost a lot of capital. If I'm the Colts, I'd rather be taking that swing than sitting on my hands when it's so wide open. I mean, my God, look at the AFC. Look at the NFC.
Yep.
The whole league is wide open. Yeah, I've been holding out on the Colts up until about last week. And when you really look at the conference as a whole, the Colts, right? Why not?
Well, that's exactly right. And how much of this, though, do you think has to do with the fact that Jim Irsay's daughters are now running the show and maybe pushing Chris Ballard a little bit more to go do something?
That could be the case. Boy, they're involved, and I think in a good way. When we tend to look at ownership and say, oh, if they're involved with football decisions, that's a bad thing. Get them out of the room. They shouldn't have a say. And yeah, if you're going to go full Jerry Jones and anoint yourself the VP of this, the VP of that, the general manager, that's a problem. But, I think your ownership should be involved to an extent, right? Like you should be having your finger on the pulse of the situation so you don't let championship windows pass on by. That's what it's about. Like, there are owners who really don't care about winning at all. Give me an owner who cares about winning. I love the fact that one of his daughters is on the headset, plugged in, seeing when things go wrong.
That's
owners that don't know that.
No, that's complete insanity. I would be livid. I would be absolutely livid if I was the head coach and that was going on my sidelines. Having said that, though, does Ed Policy go about things differently than Mark Murphy did? Because I think the answer to that question is going to be yes.
Well, you don't like accountability, Sparky, if you're the coach? I mean, if you're wrong, you're wrong. And now you're held accountable for it.
Tyler, if I'm in here doing a radio show and the general manager who's in charge of sales or whatever else is sitting over here talking to me in every commercial break while I'm trying to do a radio show, that would only last for so long before I'd probably get up and walk out. That would be about the extent of it.
You sound like you. I didn't know you were that mentally fragile. I thought you could handle it.
No, I'm not.
Handle the heat.
I'm not mentally strong at all. No, not at all. I'm not. No, I'm very, very mentally weak. Tyler Dunne. GoLongTD.com. Go ahead, tell everybody about it.
Appreciate it, man. Yep. I just had a great conversation with Tom Silverstein, my old colleague out there at the Journal Sentinel. So I'll throw that our podcast up soon. We have feature stories, deep dives on teams. Always a lot of NFC North coverage, so can't thank everybody out there enough for subscribing.
Well, we thank you for doing a great job, man. I love that website. Tyler, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
You know I love you, Sparky. Thanks, man.
You bet you. Take care. There he is, Tyler Dunne, GoLongTD.com on the guest hotline. Powered by Gruber Law. One call. That is all. Coming up on the other side, we'll continue talking about the Green Bay Packers. Green and gold update time. Charlie and I saw a chart that broke down quarterbacks in the NFL against man defense versus against zone defense. Sitting at the top of all the quarterbacks in the NFL is your quarterback in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Jordan Love ranking 1 when you combine together both. We'll get into that coming up straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.